Morning has come, arise and greet the day, dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Abhijana Manchi. My pronouns are he and him. And I serve as senior minister at Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Congregation. On behalf of Sara's family, her husband David, her daughters Ingrid and Siri, her mother Clarice, and her siblings Sue and Tim and their families, I extend a warm welcome to all of you here in person and online for joining us for this service of remembrance and hope. If you're joining us online, please let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. We're grateful to River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation for their warm hospitality in making this sanctuary available to us today. And after the service, there will be a memorial reception where the family will greet you in the social hall, which is right through these doors, where we can continue to remember Sara and all that she meant to us. And in respect of our time together, I request that you now place your cell phone or other electronic devices on worship mode. Thank you. If this is your first time at a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we want you to know that we are part of the congregational Protestant lineage of Christian churches, but that more than a century ago, we decided that we would rather build our religious community on the promises we make about how we respect and treat each other, rather than the uniformity or conformity of belief. So as a non-creedal religious community, we honor religious wisdom and spiritual truth wherever we find it, in the great religious and sacred traditions of the world, in nature, in the words and deeds of prophetic people, in poetry and science, and in our own hearts. When we grieve, we use our memorial services as occasions to celebrate the life of our loved one, rather than as an occasion for a proclamation of faith. We honor the fact that each of us here has brought our own spiritual understandings and beliefs about the mysteries of life and death and the interval in between, and will find consolation in those understandings as we come to accept this loss. Because it is always difficult to say goodbye to a beloved wife, mother, daughter, sister, aunt, to a longtime friend and beloved member of our community. Sara was deeply respected and much beloved. So as we grieve with her family, we also grieve for ourselves, for the loss of one so full of life and who brought such joy to all she did. So we gather with joy to remember and celebrate Sara's living. And we gather with gratitude. Gratitude for having known Sara, for having journeyed with her on life's journey, for being touched by her love, her warmth, her friendship, her intellect, her humor, her zest for life. So this afternoon, through words and stories, music and song, we will weave together the life of Sara Louise Sulzbach, knowing that the fullness of her life cannot be fully captured in 1 hour. And in doing so, we celebrate the life that she lived, the loves that she cherished, the values that she stood for, and the community she helped build. And in this way, we hope to inspire each one of us to do the same. Our best gift to one another today and our best tribute to Sara, both now and in the future, is to hold her in our hearts and memories as completely as possible. And through our memories, our stories, and our love, to give her back to one another again and again. And so we turn from our accustomed ways and turn our faces again toward the face of the one whose life we remember and celebrate today with gratitude and love. As is the custom in our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, we open this sacred time with the lighting of the chalice. The flame we light is an ancient symbol of transformation and community, and the chalice that holds it is a symbol of the spirit of life and love that Sara embodied. So as Ingrid and Siri kindle the memorial chalice, I invite you to rise in body and/or in spirit to share the words that are printed in your order of service. Let us speak together. We light this chalice in loving memory of our beloved friend and spiritual companion, Sara Sulzbach, and in tribute to the love a single life can inspire. May the chalice remind us of the extravagant gift of life. May it signify the community we create in our being together and our sharing together. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good afternoon. My name is Sue, and I am Sara's sister. It was Sara's wish that we gather today to celebrate her life and legacy within the Unitarian Universal community. Already with Abhi's words, it's very apparent why she chose this setting. Today we will share memories, sing, listen to readings, laugh, and probably cry. And yet Sara is not gone. When you feel the rush of an airplane landing in a new city, Sara will be with you. When you feel excitement in a new experience, Sara is there. And when you seize the day, Sara is there. And she is with us now here today. Sara Louise Sulzbach passed away on the evening of Monday, April 10th, 2023, at Sibley Memorial Hospital in Washington, D.C., surrounded by close family. This after a decade-long battle with breast cancer. She was 54 years old. Sara was born to Fred Sulzbach and Clarice Ann Demmer Sulzbach on December 5th, 1968, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She grew up in Golden Valley, Minnesota, and she graduated from Armstrong High School in Plymouth, Minnesota in 1987, and then from Macalester College in St. Paul with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology in 1991. Immediately after college, she worked with young children whose parents were substance abusers. She then moved to North Carolina and worked for the state's Department of Health and Human Services in Raleigh until 1998. At that point, she began graduate school at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill and ultimately earned a Master in Public Health in Maternal and Child Health in 1999. She worked for the Carolina Population Center for 2 years after graduation. She met the love of her life, David Johnson, while living in North Carolina. They married April 22nd in the year 2000 in Chapel Hill. Sara and David moved to Silver Spring, Maryland in 2002, where they were blessed with 2 daughters, Ingrid Sophia and Siri Elise. Sara spent the bulk of her career working indirectly or directly for the U.S. Agency for International Development in and around Washington, D.C. Starting in 2002, she was a contractor with Apt Associates and then transitioned to a direct hire in 2015. At the time of her death, she was a senior research implementation advisor within the Bureau of Global Health. She championed maternal and child health issues globally and locally. Her work took her across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East, Central America, and the Caribbean. Outside of work, Sara enjoyed further travels abroad with family, spending time on water and at beaches, attending her daughter's sporting events, cooking and baking, and snuggling with dogs, all dogs. Late in life, she had a fondness for the state of Maine because it reminded her of childhood adventures spent in northern Minnesota. Sara is survived by her husband David, daughters Ingrid and Siri, mother Clarice, sister Susan, brother Timothy, mother and father-in-law Norma and David Johnson, brother-in-law Daniel, sister-in-law Deborah and Diana, as well as many nieces, nephews, and other relatives. Sara was preceded in death by her father, Fred Sulzbach. Her spirit lives on through her daughters. Her legacy will be carried by all that have known her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sara Holtz. I'm a friend of Sara's. To laugh often and love much, to win and hold the respect of intelligent persons and the affection of little children, to earn the approbation of honest critics, and to endure without flinching the betrayal of false friends. To appreciate beauty always, whether in earth's creations of human handiwork. To have sought for and found the best in others, and to have given it oneself. To leave the world better than one found it, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, a cheery letter, or a redeemed social condition. To have played with enthusiasm, laughed with exuberance, and sung with exaltation. To go down to dust and dreams, knowing that the world is a wee bit better, and that even a single life breathes easier because we have lived well. This is to have succeeded. Thank you.
Thank you. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, in the gray hymnal.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Hi, I'm Sarah's brother, Tim. Sarah and I had a lot of phone conversations over the years since we were not living near each other. And it was a source, I think, of comfort for both of us. We had one conversation after she'd gotten some bad news about a recurrence. And in a moment of despair, she talked about how everybody's lives was going to go on but hers. It caught me off guard, and I didn't know how to say. I tried to comfort her the best I could. But here are some of the things I wish I had said to her in that moment. Sarah, you will never truly be gone because of all the memories and impact you've had on the lives of so many people, me especially. One of my earliest memories of you was you tackling and chasing away my friends when we were little, and you being my partner in crime as we would raid the garden when the peas were ripe. I remember you trying to keep the dog from jumping out of Grandpa's pickup truck, but you ended up going over the side with him. And no matter how much I tried to hide it, you always found my stash of Halloween candy. I remember you always thought we should build a pool in our backyard. And I remember when we were camping, you were the one that complained the most, but as an adult, you ended up camping the most. You were a special kid who coped with being accident-prone by wearing your Band-Aids as a fashion statement. You also would check out vinyl records from the library, not to listen to music, but to learn new languages. While Sue and I were more morning types, you would stay up reading Harriet the Spy by flashlight and then not want to get up in the morning. I remember I had to get up an hour early before school if I wanted any time in our shared bathroom. I was always jealous how you make more money than I would waiting tables at Perkins. As kids, we did not always see eye to eye, but I remember well the three of us and how much we got along on our family vacations to places like Yellowstone, Disney World, and Hawaii. As we became young adults, I remember you took me to my first concert at First Avenue. And I remember we traveled through Europe together, which included drinking beer at the Hofbrauhaus in Munich as Germany won the final match of the World Cup in 1990. As we grew into adulthood, I will also never forget how you were there for me when I needed you. Your phone calls lifted me up when I was struggling. You helped me give Keziah my first bath all by myself. You gave me parenting guidance before you were a parent yourself. You sympathized and encouraged me even while you had your own greater challenges. Sara, you have made an enormous impact on how you have lived your life. You are a courageous and relentless fighter. I hope I will always fight for life, following your example. You are a champion for women and children's health around the world. You are a loving mother who has cherished her role in raising two intelligent and beautiful young ladies. You are a friend whose loyalty, fellowship, and kindness will be difficult to match and never be forgotten. These memories, these traits, these experiences are the reasons we should celebrate Sara today. We can celebrate her by sharing and spreading her kindness, by approaching life with an open mind, and caring intensely for our families and loved ones, as well as fighting dauntlessly for those in need, including ourselves.
Hi, I'm Valerie. I met Sara during our freshman year at McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota. We both lived in Dayton dorm. She lived on the first floor, and I lived on the third. As I recall, our first conversation was about vintage clothing. She told me about Ragstock, a cool vintage store in Minneapolis. Soon, Sara took me there, and we began a friendship that has spanned multiple decades, state lines, and circumstances, variety of circumstances. During the 30-plus years of our friendship, Sara's curiosity, enthusiasm, and sense of humor has taken on many shapes and form. In addition to vintage clothing, we discovered that we were both fire signs, left-handers, tennis players, and indie rock music fans, especially bands from the local Minneapolis music scene. We found humor in the mundane parts of everyday life and enjoyed adventure. During our time at McAllister, we volunteered for the overnight shift at the local homeless shelter. We went to rock concerts, spoke in Spanish when we were out at night, much to the annoyance of our friends, and even went to a casino in Duluth. Sara was a lot of fun to be around. After college, our adventures continued in North Carolina. This time, it was my turn to show Sara around since I had grown up in Chapel Hill and had returned to live there after college. Sara settled in quickly and in short order found a job and a place to live. During her time in Chapel Hill, Sara and I explored the North Carolina beaches, met for early workouts at the gym, went out at night, and enjoyed being single. Sara's ability to pull up her roots in Minneapolis and embrace North Carolina with open arms showed her adventurous spirit. Within a few years, she met Dave and began a new chapter of life with him. Soon after Sara and David married, we both found ourselves living in the DC area, moving there within a few years of one another. Our adventures changed as we grew older and had families and careers to juggle. We saw each other less often, but still made time for one another, whether it was a book club meeting with our McAllister friends or simply a family dinner. Sara immersed herself in family life and took great pride in Ingrid and Siri. These past few years, when her cancer returned, getting together with Sara became a priority. She showed me how to have fun, be resilient, and remain optimistic in the face of great challenge. Her enthusiasm for new adventures remained contagious in a time when I did not take as much time for such things. One of my last conversations with Sara was about music. She created a playlist of songs for her life, aptly titled Celebramos. We celebrate in Spanish, or in Spanish, we celebrate. In her honor, I wish I could sing it, I wish I could play it, but I think about Sara's smile, and it a 70s hit by Hall & Oates, for a dose of humor and joy that she brought to all of us and remains in my heart, in the hearts of others. Rest in peace, Sara. I will miss you dearly.
Hi. Excuse me. Okay, my name is Paige Emerson, and as you can see in your order of service, I was Sara's neighbor. And as her neighbor, I know some things about Sara, and I feel uniquely qualified to spill the tea about her a little bit. Did you know that she never traveled with enough sunscreen? Did you know that she once broke her foot standing up from the couch? Did she ever tell you that she birthed 2 babies without painkillers? Have you seen those girls? They're tall, big babies, no painkillers at all. Did you know that Sara always picked way too much fruit when she went out to the pick-your-own orchards? We'd be eating peach cobbler for weeks. Did you know that she adopted an 80-pound lapdog during COVID? Oddly, she really liked the color Carolina blue, and she thought that the Tar Heel was an appropriate mascot. Can't explain some of this stuff. I don't know. Sara was also always the first person in the water during vacations. She bragged about the Minnesota in her blood. She was also oddly prone to giving her daughters asymmetrical haircuts. I heard somewhere that she refused to buy her firstborn a $1,400 prom dress last year. Despite that, she actually thought her kids were the best kids in the entire world. It was kind of weird. Excuse me. That said, I absolutely liked some things about her. For example, I liked that she loved charcuterie boards. I love charcuterie boards. She liked dark coffee and white wine. I, too, love dark coffee and white wine. Sara liked to walk her dog in the woods. She really liked to go to baseball and softball games. She even tolerated field hockey occasionally. She liked to browse bookstores and boutiques. She also really loved to kayak. Once, when we were trying to take an inflatable kayak out into the bay in Ocean City, our pump failed. Ultimately, I blew the entire kayak up with using my mouth, and Sara didn't make a single joke about me being full of hot air. That was pretty cool of her, actually. I liked that Sara was never afraid to try new things. She learned to love crabs, as all good Marylanders do. And she was definitely a yes woman, always ready for adventure. Sara, you want to go to the beach? Yes. Sara, want to go to Maine? Yes. Want to go out on a sailboat? Yes. Kayak in a nuclear coolant lake? Yes. Travel deep into Trump country to go skiing? Road trip through Appalachia? Go to a brewery? Hayride? College visit? Outlet shopping? Costco run? Her answer was always yes. I could count on Sara because she was up for anything. Not only was she my go-along gal, she also had my back. When I felt stuck or was in a funk, she knew how to make me feel better. At this point, I should concede that Sara was more than just my neighbor. She was one of my closest friends. I loved her, and she generously loved me back. And I loved her for all the beautiful things that she brought into my life. She married a ridiculously kind and funny man, and she birthed 2 of my favorite people in the whole world. She was passionate about everything, about her work, about traveling, about the Johnson and Sulzbach families, and about all of her friends, including the 12 of them who are also named Sara. When I think now about my Sara, it's never as a victim, or as a patient, or as a sick person. It is always as my friend, full of joy and life, sunshine and fun, passion and love, and sometimes charcuterie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I am Francis and Christine Okello's son. I was 6 years old in 2002 when we first came to America, and Dave and Sara had been so kind to us and really helped me get over the culture shock and all the challenges. I'm going to be reading 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 8, but before that, My father, who's not here, he's in Malawi, or he works overseas. He just could not help but spend all day for the past week trying to make a fitting video reflection. So I'll go ahead and play the video. Go for it. And just for backstory, they both worked at Associates, and that's how we came to America at the time in 2002. So this is very deep for my father, but I'll let him explain everything himself.
Greetings to you all who are gathered here today to celebrate the life of Sara. My name is Francis Sogojo Okello, a dear friend to Sara over the past 21 years. Forgive me if I take a little longer to speak about Sara. Forgive me too if some of the things that I say will cause you to grieve. There is no better way to tell my truth about Sara without being emotional. Since I got the news about Sara's passing, I have considered what I could say to her on this day and broken down many times. Nevertheless, I consider the opportunity to speak at Sara's life celebration as a great honor, and I thank Sara's family for recognizing our deep friendship and allowing me to share my memoirs of who Sara was, and more so who she was to my family. Sara was a deeply kind woman, caring, gentle, genuine, loving, generous, protective, hardworking, and a family woman. She was one of my most dearest friends ever, one whom I had come to regard as my American sister. I will continue to treasure Sara's virtues and values, pictures taken over the years, emails, and continued connection with her family. But I realize I will not see her again, never receive an email from her, nor get together with her. It began like this. On July the 29th of 2002, I arrived in the US with my family of 4. 2 children, Jonathan and David, and my wife, Christine. I had come to work for Abt Associates, which is the same company that Sara worked at. We were strangers. We only met for the first time, only communicated for the first time after I arrived in the US. Sara was to be my counterpart, a research manager for the Latin America region, and I for the Anglophone Africa. We had come from a very simple society, but found the complexities of America extremely challenging. That's where Sara came in. Sara and Dave significantly helped us to settle in America. The others who were very instrumental in helping us settle in the US were Ruth Berg and Piero Gonzalez. Together with Piero, Sara actually helped us find an apartment at Wheaton Square Apartments, which was about 5 minutes walk from their house. Sara, Ruth, Dave, and Piero helped us move into our apartment, setting up furniture and helping us clean the apartment. Our belongings were modest, mostly donated household items from colleagues at work. Sara gave us our first plates, pans, cups to start a home in America and showed us shopping places around Wheaton. That is who Sara was, a loving, caring, kind woman. And this is how we began our long friendship. Finding my way around Washington, D.C. was very difficult, but Sara helped me to understand how to get my way around. One day I got off the metro confused and lost. I had taken the wrong exit and could not find my way. I walked to someone and greeted him. He did not answer me but looked puzzled and distasteful. I still went ahead and asked for directions. He quickly warmed up and gave me the directions. When I got to the office, I asked Sara if something was wrong with me. She asked why, and I told her I had taken a wrong exit coming out of the metro center and got lost. I asked someone for directions, but he first looked at me with distaste. She asked me how I had approached him, and I said I walked up to him and respectfully greeted him. before asking for directions. She told me the next time, don't greet, just ask. At work, Sara was my confidant, giving me tips on American work style, culture, and resources. Most of the time, we would be seen together during breaks, going out to lunch, or a coffee break. At home, Sara would never tire of inviting us to a meal, a chat, or to share company. We were close friends, as close as we could be, and she always wanted us to work together. In 2014, I rejoined Art Associates at the urging of Sara for an opportunity that existed there. Just before Sara moved to USAID, where she again tried to get me to join. Before she left Art Associates, I remember very well, she gave me a gift of a plant, a green leafy plant, which I nurtured for years until I left Art Associates and I took that plant with me home. Sometime in 2013, Sara shared with me the sad news that she had been diagnosed with cancer. She had to tell me that she had struggled significantly to figure out how to break the news to me. And as you can see, that is about how caring Sara was. Selfless care for other people's feelings, despite the trauma of the cancer that she was living with. I struggled to find ways to encourage Sara, and at the same time, I struggled to find ways to hold myself together. And she saw this. We both cried a little, especially when she said, "My girls, they are so young. What will happen to my girls?" For this, I'd like to say that I thank God sincerely that He gave Sara over 8 more years of life to see her girls grow. I wanted to say many things to Sara, but did not. I always said those things to myself instead, thinking we would meet again someday soon and chat the next time. When the news of her passing reached me, I was devastated. I went back through all the email exchanges we had had for years. The photos and the memories that they conjured all came flowing to me. One email stood out the most. It would be the last email I would receive from Sara, and it came in January. It read, "Sorry I missed you. Hope you and family are well and that we can meet up next time. Ingrid has been very impressed with David. David is my son, who is at UMD with Ingrid. She's doing pretty well so far and really liked UMD. It's been a mixed bag the last few weeks. We traveled to Midwest for my niece's wedding, but then got COVID. Whew. And I learned I need to switch cancer treatment. Sigh. But I think I found a trial that is a good fit, and it's local, so I won't have to travel. So, fingers crossed, ... Sara is playing varsity basketball and overall doing okay. Dave also okay. Such is life. Hope we can connect soon. Unfortunately, it is too late. I won't be able to connect with Sara again, not on this side of life. So, in my solitude and grief, I feel that I have spoken to Sara in talking to you today. And I wrote a poem too, to express my feelings about the passing of my dear friend Sara. Tomorrow came too late, pondering the scenes of my life, each passing by like a silhouette, a distant memory sitting in my heart. I ask myself, was tomorrow too late? When I failed to say thank you one more time for deeds so kind while I tarried, a stranger in a strange land, my own so far away, and my way filled with fear, tears, doubt, and lack. Now, as I stand here and you lie there, peace, serenity, and quiet surrounding me. I say this to you. Though tomorrow came too late, I still thank you the same. For your heart so pure, a soul so gentle, and bounds of kindness the world over. Goodbye, my dear friend Sara. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you on his right hand side.
I still have such vivid memories of being 6 years old and blowing my first bubbles ever. Thanks to Dave and Sarah. Ingrid was there. I think she was, I don't remember, she was tiny. Such vivid memories of all the kindness that we had from them. I'm going to go ahead and read 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 8, and verse 13. If I speak with the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends, but as for prophecies, they will come to an end. And as for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. Faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love. Thank you.
This is one of the interactive parts of the program today. We're going to be singing There Is a Love, and I'm going to teach this to us phrase by phrase, and then we're going to sing it, and then we're going to sing it in a round. And Reverend Abby will help assist with the second part of that. So first, let's learn the hymn, There Is a Love. It goes like this. Repeat each phrase after me. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding me. The next part goes, there is a love holding all that I love. And there is a love holding all that I love. The next part goes, there is a love holding all. There is a love holding all. Last, I rest in this love, and I rest in this love. Let's do the whole thing together. Here we go. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. That's great. So now I'm going to play the actual music. We're going to sing the entire first verse of this together, and then we're going to sing it again a second time and replace all of the I's and me's with all of the us's and we's, as it says on your order of service. For that second verse, my side of the sanctuary will begin, and then Reverend Abi will lead when that side of the sanctuary begins for our second verse, and we'll keep that going a couple of times, okay? We game for it? Let's do it. Here we go. Remember, the first verse is all together. There is a love I rest in this love. Now, my side of the sanctuary, go on. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. Keep going. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. One more time. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. It was lovely. It was lovely.
Sara was my partner for 25 plus years. We met December 1996 in Chapel Hill at a small house party at 212 Howell Street, where Valerie lived. I probably introduced myself as some quasi-exotic guy from New Mexico, but ultimately our discussion was about our shared cultural bond for the upper Midwest and our Scandinavian roots. And I think there was also an element of us being out of our element in central North Carolina. In late 1997, I was out for a run, and Sara happened to be driving by. We both stopped. Change of plans. Coincidence seeing me? Maybe not. The story of stalking has shifted through the years. Sara adamantly denies it, but has softened more recently. Clarice, I think you're the holder of the truth. I'm still trying to pry it out of you. I didn't log my miles that day, but I did keep the receipt from the local diner in Carborough from November 9th. I paid the bill, she paid the tip. We hung out more and more and became a couple in 1998, both pushing through graduate school. I followed her on UNC-related work trips to DC, Miami, San Francisco. She was always the leader of trips. We were engaged in 1999. I met up with her in Bolivia, where she had a Spanish language fellowship, and I proposed to her there at Salar de Uyuni, a massive salt flat, the largest in the world, high in the Andes. She said yes. And that place is really remote, so it could have been really awkward for the journey home. We married in 2000. We said, I do on 4/22, which has become the family motto. April 22nd is also fittingly Earth Day. During the ceremony, the Until Death Do Us Part reading was just a formality before the drinks and getting on the dance floor. Many of you were there along iconic Franklin Street. We moved to Maryland in 2002, following her path, working in global health for Apt Associates, and being within the Metro DC of all things international, as we both had broad worldviews. Ingrid was born in 2003, not far from here. Siri, born in 2007, the same place. Equally precious. How could we be so lucky? The cancer was diagnosed in 2012, a day after Ingrid's AC Moore party. the last day of our normalcy. Many of you were there. I remember the kids painting birdhouses as if it were yesterday. A rough stretch ensued. Initial prognosis was not great. Lots of time in hospitals. The mobilization of friends and family began. But her health slowly stabilized, and life returned to near normal in 2015, 2016, 2017. Remission was feeling real. A job switch to USAID, full of energy raising young kids, visiting the homelands of Norway and Sweden. All of our family of 4 cylinders were properly firing. We were living. Cancer reappeared in 2018. There's still hope. Treatment options still exist. She's keeping up with the science. The clock is ticking louder, though. The prognosis worsened in 2022. We blasted through her bucket list and absorbed her final wishes. And here we are in 2023, and I think we all agree that we are far from acceptance. Besides being my wife, Sara was a lot of things we should celebrate. Sara was from Minnesota, home of the hot dish, lefse, bars, particularly the type you might serve at a Lutheran church, where you play duck, duck, gray duck, not duck, duck, goose. Of the Cheers skull while raising a drink or rooting for the Vikings. Music of Prince, Bob Dylan, or the Jayhawks. And of course, the land of 10,000 lakes. But she ultimately traded the canoe for the kayak, being entertained at the club at First Avenue, to working with diplomats along Pennsylvania Avenue. Going from the blue ox to the blue crab, with some Carolina blue in between. She always kept her love for the North Woods, whether in Minnesota or similar regimes. Sara was beautiful. Hundreds of pictures made the cut, but only a few made the printer, the internet, the slideshow, the poster boards. And her beauty was not just skin deep. Sara was smart, well-read, well-written, degrees from McAllister, UNC, some of the best schools in the land. She was self-educated on all aspects of her cancer and paths for treatment. She should have an honorary MD. Sara was athletic, playing basketball, tennis, softball, cross-country skiing, running 10Ks, and while the cancer was in remission, a half marathon. But most of all, she loved paddling the boundary waters. Sara saw the world, over 50 countries, Latin America, Europe, the Middle East, South Asia, but her heart was in Africa, particularly Ethiopia, from where she brought me this tie, and Uganda, thank you, the Okellos. That was her last work trip when I flipped through her passport. While her heart was in Africa, her mind was in the Caribbean. She actually traveled there a lot for work to impoverished areas. But the beautiful beaches is where she led us as a family. Our last family trip was to the Cayman Islands. Sara made an impact. Her work with the Maternal and Child Health Bureau at USAID touched 91 million moms and newborns. And even with those numbers, small interventions massively scale. Of note, in a parallel universe, I'm not turning off I-495 today and onto River Road, but instead I'm driving her to Dulles to attend next week's Maternal and Child Health Conference in Cape Town. Next week, I'll drink that South African bottle of wine alone. Sara was a fighter, and a tough one at that. They say one battles cancer, but in Sara's case, it was an all-out war. Approaching 100 infusions, dozens of doses of radiation, multiple surgeries, countless appointments. Few could stomach it, physically or mentally, but Sara could. She fought until the end. She just ran out of figurative ammunition against the cancer. No more bombs, no more torpedoes, no more missiles, no more shells. The batteries were spent. I believe in the end, after the squeezing the hands of family and friends, hugging her kids goodbye, giving me a final kiss, she drew her final weapon, her sidearm, and said, "F you, cancer," as the enemy washed over. The rest of us left to carry her flag and remember her show of strength when it is time to fight our own battles. Sara lived with hope. This was most commonly expressed every time we visited the doctor together, which was often. The nurse would take vitals, like blood pressure and temperature, and then they ask a screening question. Are you feeling down, depressed, hopeless? A pause, particularly from me. Then her answer was no. It was always no. I would stare in disbelief, but I know deep down she was telling the truth. Sara lived with Grace. There was collateral damage from the treatments and downright exhaustion. Most had no clue, and she would always take the high road when others showed more worry for what was obviously a lesser problem. Sara was a great mom. No, she was a terrific mom. I could go on, and that would be a service in itself, and a tearful one at that. Ingrid and Siri, know your mom did everything possible to extend her life and be with you. Sara had a good life, and that's a quote from her. She told me this during our last sunset together, not on some exotic beach, breathtaking mountain ridge, vast savanna, but traveling southwest on soulless I-95, just north of Baltimore, after a telling medical visit in Philadelphia. But that location didn't matter. We were sitting side by side, holding hands. It's the same sun dipping below the horizon, the same fade of the sky into twilight. We celebrate the positive interactions with Sara that she had from local to global levels, whether family, friends, neighbors, peers, coworkers, acquaintances. We celebrate that cancer was not her defining trait, but rather the trait that amplified her goodness. Sara was my wife, spouse, partner in crime, lover, teammate, mother of my children, prairie home companion. But after deep reflection, most of all, she was my best friend. And after 25 years, this is the hardest aspect to say goodbye to. Having to admit defeat to cancer, having to overcome the resulting denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Sara would say it's okay to cry. And many think I'm the stoic one, but I cry. Walking her dog Fika, cheering from the bleachers, sitting at stoplights, laying at bed at 3 a.m, holding her personal effects. And now I cry in front of you. It might be for 25 seconds, it might be for 25 years, I don't know. Sara, I celebrate my time with you. Sara, we celebrate our time with you.
Love, 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 love. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. Everybody, all you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Nothing you can know that isn't known. Nothing you can see that isn't shown. There's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love, love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love, love. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you, 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 love is all you need.
Thank you, Travis. Sara attended service at Cedar Lane in late February. And some of the music that we included in today's service was a part of that service that she was deeply touched and moved by. So we wanted to include that as a way to honor Sara's love and being an embodiment of love. When a person dies, it leaves us with a sense of incompleteness, like an unfinished song. And yet, every life also gives us, the surviving ones, an opportunity to finish that song. Let me explain this by reflecting on the death of the great Italian composer Puccini. Puccini, as we know, wrote many famous operas: Turandot, Madama Butterfly, La Bohème. Now, Puccini got cancer when he was 65 and wasn't expected to live very long. And so his friends advised him, now that he was sick, to take it easy and rest. But Puccini said, "No, I want to work on one last opera before I die. And if I don't finish it on time, I'd like you, my friends, to finish it for me." So he spent his last days writing Turandot, which some say is his best, but he died without finishing it. And so his friends were left with an incompleteness, but also with an opportunity. They could mourn his death and leave his work incomplete, or they could pick it up where he left off and finish the song. And so they decided to build on the song. And so in 1926, 2 years after Puccini died, they put on his last opera in Milan, Italy, at the La Scala Opera House. And it was conducted by Toscanini. And when they came to the part where Puccini had stopped, Toscanini turned to the audience and said with tears in his eyes, "This is where the master ends." And then, after a moment of silence, he lifted up his head and said with a smile, "And this is where his friends begin." And they finished the opera. Friends, we are at the same place here. We're here with tears in our eyes, recognizing that this is where Sara ends. This is where we say farewell and goodbye to her. But as Khalil Gibran reminds us, when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. So by tapping into that sense of delight, that joy we all have about Sara, we, her family and her friends, have the opportunity to build on the unfinished song of her life. We can take up where Sara left off into our own lives. Fashion a tapestry of praise to the goodness of life, that our love for Sara may be witnessed, renewed, and strengthened in our love for others. We can let the fire of her memory inspire us to live life more fully, with more zest and joy, giving flesh to the values, principles, and gifts that she embodied. Let us carry that forward with beauty, harmony, and joy. Would you join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation? Nameless one of many names, ultimate mystery in whom our individual selves do find beginning and ending, but also the self-knowledge that we too belong to the passing tide. We pray as mourners of death and celebrants of life, O Spirit of life and love. We give thanks for this day we have been given, for this gathered community of family and friends, and we give thanks especially for the life of Sara Louise Sulzbach. We give thanks for the years she was in our midst and for ways she touched and transformed the lives of her family and friends. Our hearts are full of memories of what she meant to us, and we feel the sorrow and the loss that her death brings. And so we pray comfort and solace. Comfort for the hearts of those of us who knew and loved Sara, solace for those who suffer her loss the most, her beloved David, and their daughters Ingrid and Siri, her mother Clarice and her siblings Sue and Tim, their families and her family of friends. O sweet mystery, we pray hope. Hope that we will always seek new and creative ways to honor the legacies of confidence, intelligence, tenacity, resilience, holy curiosity, open-mindedness, balance, kindness, faithfulness, generosity, and love, left on this plane by our beloved friend Sara. In community, we pray gratitude for the precious life of Sara, daughter, sister, wife, mother, aunt, co-worker, and friend. And in gratitude, we celebrate our memories of Sara, memories of a life well lived. May these, our memories, ease the pain of loss and bring us joy, peace, and assurance that death reminds us of the goodness of life and the sweetness of our love for each other. O amazing grace, turn our eyes and hearts again to the world of the living, to the needs of those we love, to the work we have to do, and to a strong faith for the remainder of our years. In the name of all that is holy and life-affirming and life-sustaining, we say Shalom, Salam, Om Shanti, Amen. Blessed be. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 205, Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun.
As we leave the service of the celebration of the life of Sara Sulzbach, let these words of the poet Rabindranath Tagore be our benediction. It was beautiful as long as it lasted, friends, the journey of my life. I have no regrets whatsoever save the pain I will leave behind. Those dear hearts who love and care, and the heavy with sleep over moist ice, the smile in spite of a lump in the throat, and the strings pulling at the heart and soul. The strong arms that held me up when my own strength let me down. Each morsel that I was fed, which was full of love. At every turning of my life, I come across good friends, friends who stood by me even when the time raced me by. Farewell, farewell, my friends, I smile and bid you goodbye. No, shed no tears, for I need them not. All I need is your smile. If you feel sad, do think of me, for that's what I like. When you live in the hearts of those you love, remember then, you never die. Go in peace, go making peace, living gently, loving mightily, and bowing to the mystery. Please be seated for the postlude.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words,